Hey, welcome to Next Level Method Podcast. I'm Richard Ryerson.
And I'm Matt Lilly.
And we're here to help you take your life to the next level. Let's get started. Well, Bob Burg was on the show today.
Yes.
I don't know if you weren't familiar with him, right?
I had not heard of him before. I had not heard of the Go-Giver, and obviously you've had him on the show before, so I thought it'd be great to have him on and just, it's obviously a space of how do we get better at relationships? How do we get better at communication through an authentic way? So I think he's kind of very relevant.
He's kind of known for helping entrepreneurs and salespeople.
Right.
So, but if you look, and I actually first came across him when I was trying to build Dose of Leadership.
Uh-huh.
He has a book called Endless Referrals. And it's really about networking and how you and that led me to the Go-Giver, which is kind of a parable. He writes those stories like in a parable. Is that the right word?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But, and what I like about it is when you really get into the kind of the Go-Giver mentality, and he kind of explains it here, is it's a very selfless mindset. And I thought it fit into what we're trying to do at Next Level Method. And I also thought if there's people, because I know we're trying to build coaches, right? We're trying to build a whole community of coaches and people who want to help others.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're going to be a successful coach on your own or within Next Level Method, I think a lot of these things that we talk about here in this episode are mindsets that people should have. I mean, what do you think? Particularly about authenticity
and understanding what the other person wants, right? And in any relationship, in any transaction, but certainly in any relationship, what does the other person actually want, and how are they relating to versus like, I think too often, especially in a work environment or something, it's like, I just need them to go do this, or I want them to go do this. Doesn't matter if you're their boss or not, the boss, right? It's but you're not. Do you actually understand why they're not doing it? Do you actually understand what there may be at least in my experience, if I'm ever like rushed and just want to tell somebody, hey, can you just go do this? They usually have a really good reason why they weren't already doing it, right? And it was something to do with the customer or something to do with, a bigger picture that I just wasn't seeing. So I think, from this perspective, just, being authentic, understanding the value that you're bringing, but also understanding what a person wants, right? Yeah. Right.
And I think it's important too, is like, particularly for somebody that's listening to this now, that's thinking about joining Next Level Method community, about becoming a coach. They're like, because I'm saying this because I said this to myself when I took the leap into being like, who am I
to be helping
other people when I'm trying to get myself.
Of course.
And the reality is you actually have to do both at the same time. Right. You never fully arrive to the point like I am a coach or I am now qualified to help.
Right. I've reached the top of the mountain now. Let me tell you how great it is.
It's like you just start.
You just have to do it, right?
Right, and you start adding value to others, right?
Exactly.
And so even though, certainly you got to value yourself before you can start adding value to others, but taking that leap and going, how can I add value to this transaction? Every transaction, every human being, every interaction with another human being is an opportunity for this development and growth, I believe. So that's why I wanted to have him on the show. So
great guest, and good interview, and he really spoke to the points, the five laws as he's got them of stratospheric success. So very cool.
So Burg.com is his Burg.com is his website. Go-Giver, the Go-Giver, the book, go check it out. It's been on my bookshelf for years now, and I was so glad to have him on. Go to nextlevelmethod.com to learn more about all the services that we have, all the live events that we have coming up, and your opportunity to become even a coach within the Next Level Method community. And subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast application. Please follow us. Your support and your help helps us continue to grow this podcast and get it in front of other people. So thanks for tuning in. All right, here's the episode with Bob Burg here on Next Level Method. Bob Burg, it's great to see you again. Welcome to Next Level Method. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Great to be with you both.
I'm excited to talk to you because here at Next Level Method, we've got 4 core pillars, if you will, that we like to focus around: energy, elimination, relationships, and purpose. And when Matt and I started work, Matt introduced me to this concept, I thought, man, the stuff that Bob Burg talks about, particularly in The Go-Giver and in your book, The Go-Giver Influencer, I thought it fit in nicely for the community we're trying to build here. Because we're trying to find coaches, we're trying to find people who want to make an impact in the world, but maybe they're kind of afraid to take a leap, right? And when I read your stuff, it kind of gave me some courage, or at least to realize that even no matter what my position or title, I have the potential for influence in this world. So that's kind of my summary of Bob Burg's material when it comes
I
across.
appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah. So for the sake of the listeners who maybe haven't come across your material, what is the kind of go-giver mentality, the go-giver philosophy? Can you sum that up for us?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's really nothing more than that shifting your focus, and this is really, I think, where it all begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others. Understanding that doing so is not only a more pleasant way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any, excuse me, not for any kind of way out there, woo-woo, magical, mystical type of reasons. Not at all. It's actually pretty logical. It's very rational when you think about it, because when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on helping others, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire. When you can be focused on helping them overcome their challenges and problems, when you can be focused on bringing them closer to happiness, fulfillment, peace of mind, people feel good about you.
Absolutely.
People want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you if that's appropriate based on what they need. But they definitely want to tell others about you. They want to be your personal walking ambassador. So that's really kind of the premise of all the Go-Giver books.
Even take it from an individual level of someone who, I'm an introvert. I mean, I consider myself an introvert. And when I go into a networking event or something, or a large room, it's anxiety, right? But I think having this go-giver mentality, when I approach somebody, I don't have to be worried about talking about myself, right? I can approach them and start asking them questions, right? Like, what do you do? And I've had some success with this over the years. And it's funny how people think you're such a great conversationalist, and you haven't really you didn't even really say that. You just asked them questions.
It's an interesting point you make. Because when I first began in sales, not my first sales job, but one soon afterwards, I was on the phone a lot, not just for prospecting, but for actually building the relationship and actually the sale taking place. It was all over the phone. And what I noticed very quickly, and this I found was interesting, nobody ever hung up the phone on me while they were talking.
Right.
Really fascinating.
Yeah.
When they were talking, they were engaged, right? When I was talking, not so much.
Yeah.
So really, I think you make a great point that when you can, again, move from what we call an I focus or me focus to an other focus, okay? Looking to, as Sam, one of the mentors in the Go-Giver, told Joe, the protege, to make your win all about the other person's win. That's when the magic happens, and it begins through your focus.
Yeah, and it's like we chase these buckets all the time, right? We're as individuals, we're wanting whatever, success, promotion, income, validation, significance, whatever the game. All these buckets we're trying to chase and fill, and when we chase them directly, it never gets full. But if I don't worry about the buckets and I just kind of worry about how can I add value in this transaction,
That's okay.
Yeah, and every transaction with another human being is an opportunity to add value. I think that's the other thing. It's not these big events or it's the big meeting. It's the cashier at the gas station. That's right. It's talking to the stranger in the street, whatever. There's opportunities, and when you do that, your buckets seem to become overflowing, right? I cut you off there, Bob. I don't know.
No, that was perfect. I think you should have written the book.
Right. Yeah. Hey,
I like how you said it better than I did.
Right. Well, let's go over some of the laws in the Go-Giver. You got 5 laws of stratospheric success. Can we go over some of those? What?
Sure. And by the way, the book, and I just want to acknowledge the book was co-authored with John David Mann,
Yes.
who really was the great writer and storyteller. I'm a how-to guy. I'm step 1, step 2, step 3. So I'm actually rather boring. John is a brilliant storyteller. So it was really, without John, it wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been what it was. And the 5 laws are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. And the first law, which is the law of value, basically says that your true worth, in the business sense, of course, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, when first hearing this, it sounds a little counterintuitive, even counterproductive. Give more in value than I take in payment. That sounds all nicey nice and everything, but it also kind of sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy. So we need to understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you make a very healthy profit. And a very simple example would be the accountant you hire to do your taxes. She charges you, just name a round figure, $1,000. Okay, that's her fee, literally her price, $1,000. But what value does she give you in exchange for this? Well, through her years of experience, her hard work, her dedication, her desire to get to know you and your needs, to get to know, familiarize herself with your company, the way her staff makes you feel throughout the process, and everything combined, she's able to save you she's able to save you $5,000 in
Mm-hmm.
taxes. She also saves you countless hours of time, which frees you up to do what you want to do or what you can do more productively. She also provides you and your family with the security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly. So while her price was $1,000, she actually gave you well over $5,000 in value. So
Mm-hmm.
you feel great about it. And of course, she made a very healthy profit, which she should, because it was worth it to her to sell or lease her time, her energy, her knowledge, her wisdom, and so forth for that $1,000. In fact, in any free market based exchange, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one is forced to do business with anyone else. In any market based exchange, there should always be two profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. So that's a very foundational in terms of the law of value. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was
Mm-hmm.
just going to say I really love that because it applies not only to an economic sense, but I think even I've had people when we're talking about relationships and particularly trying to be a more influential leader. I've had a couple people that I've coached, executives that I've coached, and they're like, they just want the answer or the checklist. One guy actually asked me, because you're a pilot, give me the checklist to becoming a person of influence. And I said, you want to be a person of influence? I said, start adding value to everything that you do and start looking at things. Look at everything as a value-based transaction. I don't know. As an entrepreneur, what do you think? What do you
Yeah,
think
no,
about that?
totally right. That's again back to free market society or free market transaction. The market tells you if you're adding value or not, right?
Right.
Otherwise you become a commodity, and obviously,
Sure.
you can buy and sell based on commodity pricing. But when you're truly looking at service-based businesses, it's all about value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the law of compensation. So how does that tie into the next one?
Yeah, so this says that your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number one says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number two tells us that the more people whose lives you touch with the exceptional value you provide, the more money with which you'll be rewarded. So you take your accountant in the first example. She did a great job of giving you more in value than she took in payment. So the chances are you are very happy with her. You would do business with her again, and you would refer her to others. Well, her other clients feel the same way. So our accountant is very quickly building what we call an army of personal walking ambassadors who are singing her praise. And as she continues to add that kind of exceptional value to the lives of more and more people, her income will continue to grow and grow. In the story, Nicole Martin, the CEO, told Joe, the protege, that law number one, the law of value, represents your potential income. Okay. But that's just your potential income. It's not enough to just provide great value to one person. Law number two, the law of compensation, talks about your actual income because it's a matter of how many lives you impact. So we could say that exceptional value plus significant reach equals very, very high compensation.
Yeah, and again, even applying it to just not even dollar figures. I mean, it's the same thing with relationships. I think, the more that you kind of, again, to me, Bob, I think about even the law of value, and I even kind of give this advice to my kids. They're like, well, how do I start making an impact when I first start going someplace? And I say, well, number one, do the things that nobody else wants to do, and have provide tremendous value in that aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you provide that value, you get noticed, and then just hit repeat, and then that's kind of like the law of compensation. The more you do that, right, the more it's going to expand.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how I see it. What about the law of influence? They're kind of all
so
tied
law number
together.
3, huh?
They're all tied together. They're all kind of flow
Yeah,
together. But tell me about the law of
absolutely.
influence.
Yeah, well, this one says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Again, counterintuitive sounding, counterproductive perhaps, maybe even Pollyanna-ish, right? Place other people's interests first. Excuse me. But you think about it, and the greatest leaders you know, the top influencers, the highest producing salespeople, this is how they run their businesses, conduct their lives. They're always looking out for the other person's interest. Now, let me qualify this if I may. When we say place the other person's interests first, we don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at all. It's simply as Joe, the protege in the story, learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of business, of sales, is simply that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you in others than by genuinely moving from that I focus we talked about earlier, to an other focus. That not another focus, but an other focus,
Right.
focusing on them, right? And that's really the way that you create those feelings of know, like, and trust toward you.
I love it.
And this is really, you think about it, this is all about leadership as well, because when you think about it, really, and John Maxwell has certainly said that leadership is influence, right?
Yep.
Nothing more, nothing less. So what is influence? Well, on a very basic level, influence is simply the ability to move a person or persons to a desired action, usually within the context of a specific goal. By definition, that's influence. Now, that's the definition. I don't believe that that's the essence of influence. I think the essence of influence is pull. Pull as opposed to push, as in how far can you push a rope, right? And the answer is not very far, well, at least not very fast or very effectively, which is why great influencers, great leaders, great influencers, they don't push. They don't push their ideas on others. They don't push themselves on others. They're not push-y.
Yeah.
They pull. You never hear people say, wow, that David or that Mary, she is so influential. She has a lot of push.
Yeah, right. She has a lot of pull. Yeah, that's right.
No, exactly.
That's
She's
right.
influential. She has a lot of pull
Pull.
with people. That's what influence is. Now, how does that influence manifest itself? How do we have that pull happen? And this goes, I think, right back to what I believe was the underlying premise in Dale Carnegie's classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's where he wrote that ultimately people do things for their reasons, not our reasons.
That's right.
So, to me, the genuine influencer, the powerful, effective influencer, they ask themselves questions to make sure they're looking the right way. Now, I believe we need to be internally motivated, but outwardly focused. So the genuine influencer asks themselves questions such as, how does what I'm asking this person to do, how does it align with their goals, with their wants, with their needs, with their desires, with their values? How does what I'm asking this other person, how does what I want this other person to do, how does it help solve their challenges? How does it help get them to where they want to go. And I think when we ask ourselves these questions thoughtfully, intelligently, genuinely, authentically, not as a way to manipulate another human being into doing our will, but as a way of building everyone in the process. Now, I think we've gotten a step closer to earning that person's commitment as opposed to trying to depend on some type of compliance,
Yeah.
which is, force, manipulation, and perceived threat. And, I'm top down command and control. I'm your boss and you'll do it because I said so, which we know is, at best, not sustainable. At worst, people will sabotage the process along the way, right?
Right.
Consciously or unconsciously. Yeah, I love what one of my great friends and mentors, her name is Dondi Scumaci. I love what she says about this. And she says, when it comes to leadership, when it comes to influence, she says, compliance will never take you where commitment can go.
Yeah. Commitment. Yeah. I love Dondi. She's been on I talked to her years ago.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah, she's the best.
What do you say to someone in that? I love what you said, and I agree 100%. But what do you say if this other person that I have, that I'm trying to bring along or pull or extract the best out of them, what if their interests aren't aligned with my values or even the mission of what I'm trying to do? What do you say to that?
Oh, well, I'd say that's very difficult, and there needs to be, in order for the organization to be as effective as possible, there needs to be an alignment. So, you need to be able to tie into their needs, their wants, their goals, their desires. Sure, absolutely, and they also need to be tied into yours. So there has to be a symbiosis there.
Yeah, right.
That has to be in harmony, or you're going to be going two different directions.
Love it. Were you going to say something?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I love the fourth law, the law of authenticity. I do think the keys to, particularly in this day and age, where there is a tremendous amount of need for compassion and seeking to understand, I think authenticity, transparency, and vulnerability are the keys to compassion. I really do. I love the law of authenticity. But so what do you think about when you hear me say that the keys to kind of unlocking this compassionate, this understanding side of us is this law of authenticity, transparency, and vulnerability? What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, the law of authenticity itself says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself.
Right.
Right. And the mentor in that part of the story, Deborah, shared a very important lesson that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as powerful, as important as they are, and they are very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. Now, when you do, of course, now you're really connecting with someone. People feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. And so, certainly that's so very powerful. And often when people don't come across authentically, it's because they don't really recognize the value they bring to the table. And so, which is, recognizing our own value can be difficult because we're
Yeah.
human beings and we're so emotionally close to ourselves that we don't always see that those gifts that we bring. I also think that authenticity in a sense has to be divine, and then we'll tie it into what you were saying, because I think people sometimes confuse authenticity with not having any boundaries.
Yeah. I was
Okay,
going
this is
to
who
bring
I
that up.
am. If we like it or leave it, and that's too bad. And which, by the way, is not a bad philosophy if you don't want to have any healthy relationships, and you don't want to make any money.
Right.
Then it's fine. But
Right.
since that's not the goal of most of us, no, it's like the person who says, "Well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot, and if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me."
Right.
And that's hogwash. That's malarkey. It simply means that person has an authentic problem that they need to authentically work on and improve upon in order to become a higher, better, more effective, authentic version of themselves. So I think really we can define authenticity as simply acting congruently with one's values.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the empathy and the understanding and the kindness and all the great things that we can, well, sure, and we want that to come from an authentic base, but we can develop those skill sets as well.
Yeah.
You know, we can develop the skill of empathy. Some people, they come by it very naturally, okay? Others not as much, but it's an important skill. It's probably the most important people skill there is, and I believe people skills are the most important life skills
Right.
and business skills there are. So yeah, it ties in beautifully, as you were saying.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've had conversations about the authenticity piece, and I kind of equate it to when I fly airplanes. If I'm up there in the cockpit and I have a engine problem or an engine fire, and I take care of it, and you see me handling it in a composed manner, hopefully. If I authentically showed you what I was feeling at the moment, then that wouldn't be good for the mission, right? Because I am scared inside, and if I didn't learn how to compartmentalize and do a little bit of acting, I guess maybe you don't call it acting, but at least compartmentalizing, right? That doesn't mean I'm inauthentic, right?
No. See, okay, now, so this is a very important point you bring up, and I love this. I think also sometimes people confuse authenticity with transparency.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
There is a time and place to be transparent. Okay. And when that time and place is correct, it's wonderful to be. Okay. When you're piloting a plane and there's a panic situation, now is not the time to be transparent.
Right. That's right.
You can be scared to death, and your job
is to stay
is
composed,
to remain calm and composed and help everyone else feel safe. That's authentic.
That's right.
Because that is what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it's sort of, I give the example that when someone, you know, and someone says, well, I should always let people know exactly what I'm thinking. Well, let's say you're a salesperson making a sales call, and you had a horrible night's sleep that night, you have a bad neck, your back is hurting, you're feeling awful. And the person you're seeing, the customer you're seeing, nice person, but they're not a touchy-feely person. They're not someone who wants to get all personal and know all about you. They want to kind of say their hellos and get down to business. So when you walk in, you say, hi, John, and he says, you know, hi, Susan, whatever, how are you? Now, he doesn't really mean how are you, like, tell me how you are. He means how are you, like, a period at the end of that sentence, not a question mark.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So at this point, Susan, if she was going to be totally transparent, would say, oh, I had an awful night's sleep. My
Right.
neck is killing me. My back is killing me. I don't even want to be here. This is the worst. That would be transparent. It would also be inappropriate.
Right.
Okay. She needs to be authentically her true professional self and work with her client, her customer, as he wants to be worked with. Now, later when she goes to her chiropractor and the chiropractor says, how are you? Now she can be totally transparent, and that's authentic because that's the proper time. So yeah, I think sometimes we get so politically correct.
I know, right?
In terms of, that we think, oh, we have to just let it all. No, we don't.
Yeah, I love it, and I love the last law, the law of receptivity. Something I have definitely tried to work on over the last decade. I haven't been very good about receiving things, right? We, for whatever reason, we feel uncomfortable sometimes at receiving.
Sure.
I agree with that. That's my hardest. I think that's my Achilles heel right there.
Yeah,
that receiving
people.
Receiving compliments, receiving gifts for me, receiving help.
Yeah.
Like, any of that for me, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, so let's look at that. The law of receptivity says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving.
Right.
And this really means nothing more than understanding that, yeah, you breathe out, but you also have to breathe in.
Right.
Breathe out carbon dioxide, breathe in oxygen. It's not one or the other, right?
Right.
You breathe out, which is giving value. Breathe in, which is receiving with gratitude, the abundance that you have earned. The challenge is the world has given us and continues to give us so many horribly negative messages regarding money, prosperity, abundance, business. My goodness. I mean, you'd think that anyone who's wealthy has done it on the backs of others, or who has, ripped someone off or been horrible and greedy and this and that, right? Oh, it's a big world. There's lots of bad people. But no, especially to the degree that one operates in a free market environment where no one's forced to buy from them, the only way they can earn a lot of money is to serve a lot of people with exceptional value. Because really, remember, no one's, and I say this to salespeople all the time and entrepreneurs when I speak to them at conferences, I'll say, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet.
Right.
Okay? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, and they're not even going to buy from you because you're a really nice person. They're going to buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. You know this. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have, and this is good, by the way, it's good because it means that that entrepreneur or salesperson or leader, when they focus on their team member, who can look to bring exceptional value to another human being, that's the one who's rewarded. Now, because of all the negative messages we receive from the world around us regarding this, okay, it gets into our heads. It gets into our unconscious. That's the most insidious thing of all. We don't even know that we're buying into all this negative garbage when it comes to prosperity. My friend Randy Gage, who speaks on the topic of prosperity, he's fantastic, and he talks about every movie you go to, right? You'll notice there's two, or every at least big selling movie, there's always two types of characters. There's the good people who are generally portrayed as poor and struggling and happy, right? And then they're always being taken advantage of, stepped on, stepped over, put down, trampled on by who? The rich people who are always mean and evil and nasty and cowardly. And, you see this all the time. He brings up a great point. Look at the first Spider-Man movie, right? Where Peter Parker and Uncle Ben are sitting on the couch and they're talking about how poor they are. Peter's asking him about it. And Uncle Ben says, Peter, we may be poor, but at least we're honest. What a horrible, horrible message for some young kid to see. And say, wow, but it's just a movie. No, first of all, it's almost every movie. It's also, what's basically taught, whether in schools, on the internet, on the, wherever you go, it's all. And so what happens is, if you take these messages in, again, unconsciously, now you grow up. This is totally part of your mindset, your belief system, your unconscious operating system. Now you start doing things where you've earned the right to receive because you've provided so much value to so many people. But as this happens, what's going on in your unconscious? Well, wait a second. If I have a lot of money, am I going to change? Does that mean I was dishonest? Are people now going to resent me? Am I going to be the villain? Right? And we don't even know we're having these conversations, but they go on. And that's why I think prosperity, and whether you learn from people like Randy Gage, Bob Proctor, David Nagel, Sharon Lechter, Ellen Rogan, Ken Honda, so many great people out there teaching prosperity. I listen to their I read their blogs, I listen to their podcasts and read their emails, because we've got to keep the good stuff coming in proactively, because the garbage, the negativity comes in all the time naturally. So, so we've got to question our premises. And when we, find ourselves not receiving or sabotaging something or whatever, we have to we need to get conscious of it. We need to ask, why? Why did I think that way?
Yeah, it does.
Where did I learn that?
It does manifest itself in some weird ways. Particularly, I even caught myself even as an entrepreneur and coaching and pricing things. And I got some good advice one time. I said, well, what should I charge for this? And he says, well, what's a number that is about to make you puke and you feel like you're just not even worthy of that? And he goes, do you got it? And I'm like, yeah, I got it. He's not double it, right? Because we have this kind of this, I'm not worth this. I don't have this much value, And again, having that kind of openness to this receptivity, like when somebody tells you, even a simple thing, hey, you look good today. Oh, well, thank you. Instead of going of like, oh no, not.
Right, exactly. Well, that's important, because it's like building any muscle. If you want to lift 300 pounds, you don't start with 300 pounds if you haven't been doing it for a while.
Richard, you look great today.
Oh, thank you.
Richard, you look great today.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're a very handsome man.
Thank you. So start with the thank you and work your way up.
That's right. Well, it kind of ties into when you released the Go Giver Influencer. tied into this. I read somewhere that the reason why you did this is because, particularly now with the way the world is, I read somewhere that you released this because this is a perfect time for people to understand there's a place for empathy, civil discourse, and ability to see others' perspective. Am I hitting it on the head there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of if you look at the political situation in the U.S. right now. It used to be whether it was Democrats, Republicans, Democrats as the two major parties. It used to be, I'm right, you're wrong, which, is never not the optimum way to approach something, but it was doable because at least if you feel you're right and the other person's wrong, you're going to still engage with them because you want to persuade them to your side. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, so it's gone from I'm right, you're wrong to now it's I'm right, you're evil.
Right.
And when that's the case, we're not going to engage someone. Why would we? Evil is unchangeable. It's incorrigible. And if we think the other person's evil, we're not going to listen to them. If we think the other person, we're not going to talk to them. So yeah, I mean, I think we need to have a discourse where we need to communicate with people tactfully and respectfully, which, and that doesn't mean that you're saying they're right or that you're agreeing with them. You can speak to others tactfully, respectfully, without compromising your values.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. But you're never going to get the conversation started if you kind of look at this person as being, beyond redemption, and
yeah.
So yeah, that's really, so, we wrote it was a business parable, and it was about two business people who weren't able to kind of connect because they were really focused on their own needs instead of the others, and we took them through that. But really, I think it in terms of the, politically and the way people are just not relating to each other right now, to me, it's very concerning.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a huge part too, Matt. I think why we're doing what we do at Next Level Method for those same reasons, and I think I know I'm concerned. I know you're probably concerned too about where we're going. Right? I mean, there's a lot of hurting people out there, and wanting to be heard and be understood.
Definitely.
I'm looking at the clock, and we're already up against it, unfortunately. And Bob, I could talk to you for hours.
Oh,
did we talk about everything that did we get everything? In the short time that we had together across that we wanted to get across, Bob? Is there one last thing that you wanted to make sure that got across that maybe we didn't hit upon?
No, I mean, I think you guys did a great job in covering this, and it's been a real joy and a pleasure to have a chance to speak with you both. Richard, we've spoken before, of course.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. How can people get in touch with you, Bob, and learn more about you?
Yeah, best place to go is, I keep things very simple, burg.com.
I love it.
Burg.com. And while they're there, they can get a free chapter of any of my books in the Go Giver series, as well as some of my other books. And they can check out our Go Giver Success Alliance membership community if they'd like as well.
Bob, thanks for coming on the show. It's such a true, to be connected with you has been a true blessing over the years, and I'm so glad you took the time to come on the show today. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Appreciate you both very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Next Level Method podcast. If you found some value in this, tell somebody about the show. Tell your friends, tell your spouse, tell your kids, let them know all about Next Level Method. And go to nextlevelmethod.com to learn more and join our community. Thanks for tuning in.